Greetings, everyone. This is the Hipster Snek, proudly presenting another episode of the amazing Tomodachi Bros podcast. With me today, as always, is Master Ditaku.
Top 10 reasons why Jitaku is actually the next Dark Souls.
That washes. And also, back from the great beyond, from the grave, from purgatory, hell, and heaven,
from your grave,
is Master Cog, who has not joined us in
hello everyone.
a little over a year, I want to say. Were you
Hey,
in
hey,
the
hey.
first
I've
episodes of
been-
season 3?
I think I was. I'm pretty sure I was.
Okay.
And I've not really gone anywhere. I've been around, just mostly doing behind-the-scenes stuff.
That's true. That's
So,
true. He's still been helping us with all sorts of different stuff. And we are glad. We are very happy to have him back in this episode. So that's really exciting for us.
He's like Zero, Ultraman Zero in all the movies. He'll show up at the very end, blow up the bad guy, and then be like, all right, guys, I'm out.
That's all you get.
gotta pay for more. No,
That's how it works.
But,
You gotta pay for the COG additional player DLC.
yeah, that's right. Secret content. Oh no, I was saying there's been a lot of development in the IRL realm, which has also pulled me away a bit. But like I was saying, I've been continuing to help out kind of behind the scenes, but I haven't really gone anywhere.
No, indeed. And no, it's exciting because today we get to verbally lampoon a lot of things that we're not the biggest fans of. And I think I can sum up today's theme with journalists. However much you hate them, it's not enough. Let's this can segue into some nerd news and the topic all at the same time, because everyone on the Twitter sphere is talking about Assassin's Creed. And talk about a title that is only relevant up to the first 3 letters, because I don't think these games have been any good since the original trilogy.
I actually got so mad playing the original game. Because it ends on such a crappy cliffhanger, and you're like, I learned nothing from what I recall. When I played Assassin's Creed, I was like, okay, it's a fun game. I remember getting to the end of it, and I was like, what a complete waste of time. Because I just hated the ending to the first one. And then I was like, okay, I got in, started the second one, and I was just like, I can't do it. I can't bring myself to... Like, I've played it in spurts. Like, I've played segments of them, but I've never finished an Assassin's Creed game since the first one. Because I was so pissed off. I was like, I can't do it.
I have a confession to make.
Yeah.
I've never actually played an Assassin's Creed. I think the only game that's like close to it at all is Saints Row.
Kinda.
That's probably the closest I've played of it. Oh, I suppose also Prototype.
Kind of like the mission-based open world thing. Yeah, there's definitely that.
Yeah, I suppose you could consider, Prototype more of a COG simulator than, Assassin's Creed.
Prototype, or what was the other one? Inhuman? Was that the one that came out at the same time? I think I might have
Infamous?
Infamous. Yes, it was Infamous and Prototype. I remember this came out at the same time.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, I remember. I did play Infamous. I enjoyed Infamous, though. That's the one with you when you have, like, the crazy electrical powers and stuff. Right. That one was actually pretty cool.
Yeah, no, I played a little bit of both. I enjoyed both. With Assassin's Creed, I would say the early games, at least, this became a lot less true as time went on. They were mechanically sound and story-wise quite flawed. The idea the first game hinged upon, I think, was interesting, where, like, you have some kind of cognitive link to your ancestors, and they could use this machine where you could, like, live out the experiences your ancestors had. It's all pseudoscience, but it was an interesting enough idea. It carried the story enough up until it didn't. And then it really, really spiraled downward.
I don't even know where they're at anymore. Are they still doing the simulation and stuff, or is that not even...
I played the first 3 games because I had a compilation on my PS3, I think it was, of the first 3 games, and I think I finished the first one, was halfway into the second one when my PS3 decided to end its own existence, which is not
I mean,
fun.
let's be honest. The real reason anybody plays Assassin's Creed is so they can run around weird, historical style cities and shank people in the back.
Yeah, basically. And they've
There's,
done...
I mean, the story has gone so far off the rails to my understanding. Like, I was pissed off at the story after the first game. So,
And
I mean,
now they have like pirates, and then there was one set in colonial America. Irritated people. It was one that was supposed to have a co-op theme, and like nobody liked it because apparently it was a glitchy, buggy mess.
There was one where you played as basically a Viking assassin,
Right. It
and
was
the
a
problem
Viking
being
one.
though is that you looked they allowed you to either basically create your own character, and the problem being is like if you tried to make a female, then you were like basically the fuggliest potential option. And it's like, no, I want her to be pretty. It's like, no, you don't get that. You have to basically look like, what was your thing in high school there, Professor? East German wrestlers, something like that?
The East German women's wrestling team. Yes. Google it. It's horrifying.
I will.
Yeah, it
I'm not sorry.
which is very unfortunate just because, I mean, it's once again like Horizon Zero Dawn where, I mean, I'm sorry, a ranger. I think the actress who does the mocap for that is really pretty, but the actual Aloy character is not.
I'm not
So-
sorry.
Just the first couple pictures are just hilarious.
But
I don't even know if it's real or not, but I'm just like, oh god.
so yeah. Honestly, I think out of this entire debacle, I think probably the best thing that's come out of it is was made aware of the Secret Shogun series, which is awesome.
Really, not really a series. It was a standalone volume, and that's all the author has done. But to be fair, it's a very interesting read. It's a very interesting what if, because you see, the kerfuffle that we have been kind of pitter-pattering around is the whole deal of the samurai known as Yasuke, who basically they're just making it up. We found that every person who has any kind of information on this guy is basically making it up. And the only credible sources seem to indicate that, yes, he existed. Yes, they dressed him up as samurai armor as a joke. And he ran away from like the one battle that he might have ever had been engaged in, and then just disappeared and presumably died. And that was it. That's all that history actually mentions about this guy as a figure in history. He was a footnote at best. And now Japan, in particular, is really unhappy that their history is now being hijacked by this footnote.
Well, not only
I
that,
see.
the historian that they are basically they're hinging a lot of their stuff on, basically has not only I thought it was a woman. Apparently, it's a guy, and apparently not only has he lost he's been discredited. He's lost his position at Nihon University, but basically he's being investigated now because for academic fraudulency.
Oh no, how terrible. Anyway.
Yeah, yeah. Let me see if I can.
So like the entire game is building up like this fake story about this guy who really was not in any way historically significant. And they set a game in feudal Japan, back when Japan was closed off from the rest of the world, and decided to make the game about literally the only not Japanese person on the island. You know, I don't blame Japan for being angry. And there's so much grifting happening on Twitter right now, or just like, this is okay. No, it's not. No.
Okay.
It sounds like they were trying to do some sort of messed up version of Shogun, but
the guy's name is Thomas Loxley, and yeah, apparently he is being investigated And yeah, he's basically being like completely taken out of academia. I mean, never mind the entire thing where he was like he wrote several books talking about how apparently there was the practice in the Middle Ages for certain temples, Buddhist temples, to take in young surf boys who were very very attractive for services, and he described it as they were basking in the positive male energy, and I'm just gonna let it that just leave that there, and just whatever you're thinking is probably correct. And yeah, so I really have no sympathy for him because
Historic revisionism doesn't really typically sit well with us.
yeah, I mean, okay, I'll say it this way. The thing that really bothers me most is not that, oh no, there's things that are icky and gross and like, okay, look, if you're gonna have a thing, have it be true. Like for instance, Elagabalus. Okay, who is he? 3rd century Roman emperor. Apparently, he dressed up as a woman on multiple occasions. Apparently, he had a husband. He was also apparently not a very well-liked person or a particularly good emperor. Do I think that, this is the stunning apex of virtue and leadership? No. But do I think that it's important to understand who he was? Yes. And trying to frame something like Yasuke, like, whatever Chigo, I want to say this practice is, as something other than what it is wrong. And as a historian, you should be just woefully ashamed. You should not allow outside agenda to color what you're trying to do as a historian.
Especially viewing a historic practice through modern lenses is just bad form.
Lest we forget things like lobotomies, where people go, oh, well, that was, of course we're supposed to take people who are, not of sound mind, and we are supposed to cut into their brains. And we look at that and go, dear God, that is horrifying and barbaric.
This was considered okay up until the 1960s, by the way.
I'm wondering
Or,
how
I
much
mean-
money they've spent to produce this game.
More than they're going to make on it, because there has been epic blowback, especially once this guy was, pointed out as the fraud he rightfully is. And this leads into another interesting thing, is how the discussion is being framed. Now, as I said, journalists, you don't hate them enough. Games journalists, you don't hate enough. Even if you hate them, with every fiber of your being, you don't hate them enough.
Aren't you technically a game journo?
No. I would say no. I would say no, and the reason for that is I like to think of myself as what Rhett and Link call a internet-tainer. I am here to tell the wacky, zany, woohoo, pizza man jokes and be like, hey, I think this game is neat. And you know what? Every now and then, people will disagree with me. Look at my Digimon Rumble Arena video if you want to see people disagree with me in 5-paragraph essay MLA format standard, because boy, did they disagree with me on that one.
Or any time you bring up Final Fantasy X, at which point you're like, it was a masterpiece.
And I'm like, it was not a masterpiece. You were 7 years old and had no real responsibilities. It was bad. Even though that started as a meme, I sincerely think it was a bad game. But here's the thing. These gaming journos are so two-faced about it. Because they're just like, no, you have to support the Western devs and all their uglification of these characters. And it's like, I'm sorry, The Last of Us 1 was not a good game. The Last of Us 2 was somehow even worse. I watched full Let's Plays of both. I actually owned the first one. It came with my PS4.
I played Yeah, I played the demo for the first game, but then I saw how bad the second game was, and I was like, I give up. I'm not even. Why even bother getting into even halfway, like putting any effort into this?
And also, as a bugaboo, I understood and knew what cordyceps were long before it was cool. Just want to adjust my hipster cred here. Flex a little on you plebs who only heard about it through a video game. But yeah, no, they were not good games. And there was just so many things wrong with them, but there are all these Western journos who were just like, oh no, these are masterpieces, and gaming has never had stories this deep or complex. And I'm like, please, the Super Nintendo Final Fantasy games had way more nuanced character development and character arcs than these games have in their total runtime, which is significantly longer, by the way.
I mean, you can see that in just modern writing with just modern cinema now is a lot of rinse and repeat and flat characters, and it's really hard to get fun, entertaining material now because everything's about like the message is more important than the what you're
Yeah,
the entertainment you're consuming, and
so
it's like,
they'll
guys,
have.
you're a game company, you're a film studio, like nobody actually wants your content to be um feeding them propaganda like that. Like it's supposed to be an escape for people. Like you're supposed to be providing a safe haven for people to just have fun and enjoy themselves, not beat them over the head with, the message.
I forget the exact quote, but there was a particular Australian game reviewer who once said something along the lines of, anyone who sacrifices the gameplay in order to try to make a point really needs to be taken out and executed as an example.
Oh, gee, look at a modern example of that with what is it? Setsuna 2, Hellblade.
Yeah, Hellblade.
Yeah, Hellblade 2. Yeah, it's all super pretty and everything graphic wise. I'm not going to discount that, but there's no HUD display, and it's basically like more of a semi interactive movie than it is anything else. Like
Oh, is that
it's
the one
almost
where
not a game.
is that the one where you have to use your schizophrenia basically as your HUD? Like it'll have like voices telling you things, and you're supposed to
Yeah,
do stuff.
I get. I haven't actually played it. I just recall a lot of hype around it. Um, and again, most of the hype was about the graphics, and I'm like, okay, yeah, the graphics look really good. I'm not going to discount that, but like the rest of the game, uh, doesn't really feel like a game at all.
That's basically what
It's
happened to Kojima once he fled from Konami because he made Death Stranding. And it's like, hey, here's a game with no game mechanics, and the bad guy is the politician he doesn't like. Oh my god, what a revolutionary idea.
He already did that with Metal Gear Rising: Revengeance, where basically
Kojima had almost nothing to do with
but
that game.
that. Oh yeah, that's true.
Nope, that was Platinum. Konami didn't even
Yep.
make that game. Platinum
I
Games
was about
did.
to say the gameplay was far too good for that.
Just like they were given carte blanche to just like, oh, it's a side story, just don't mess with the main material. So they were like, okay, well, let's make our own thing. And Platinum made the one good Metal Gear game.
I'm not gonna say the one good Metal Gear game, but
Okay, Solid 3 was actually really good. I will say that.
Snake Eater was fun. Yeah.
oh, you mean the one which actually basically is James Bond 1960s actual espionage
Yeah.
rather than
With
hey,
like over the top crazy villains and stuff. Yeah.
Yeah,
hey
that's why it
guys,
worked.
no one remembers Metal Gear 1 and 2, where the
Well,
actual Metal Gear.
that's why they're remaking it. That was what was fun about the first few Metal Gear games was like it was this, it basically paved the way for espionage games, and it had crazy wacky villains.
And then later games tried to weirdly retcon it and tried to ground it in reality, all as a disservice to the series. And people forget that Metal Gear 2 isn't canon. I mean Snake's Revenge, not Metal Gear Solid 2. Metal Gear Solid is Metal Gear 3, technically speaking.
No, yeah. For there were only 3 Metal Gear games for me. I played Metal Gear. I mean, my favorite. I mean, I enjoyed the original Metal Gear. 2, I was a bit disappointed in, but learned to enjoy. And then 3, and then 4 ended the series. That's it. I actually did enjoy the crazy like missile crawl to the end of the submarine. That was ridiculous. The ending of 4 was so ridiculous. I was like, okay,
Wait, you
this was
mean
fun.
Metal Gear Solid 4 is where the series ended? Is that what you're saying?
Yes,
Okay,
yes.
like,
I'm saying the series ended with Metal Gear Solid 4.
okay, so Solid is important because there was Metal Gear on the NES.
You're right. Yes,
There
you're
was
correct.
Snake's
I apologize.
Revenge, which isn't canon, and then there was Metal Gear Solid, which is essentially Metal Gear 3.
Actually,
Yes.
if
I'm
you
saying
take
the series ended with Solid 4.
if you take Phantom Pain to
It was
be
supposed to be an ending, and it is an ending. It is a solid ending for the series, and nothing else exists.
You're now imagining
Well,
Kog and Ditaku in a Phoenix Wright courtroom pointing at each other and getting increasingly angry about it.
I think okay. So, but basically, what you're saying is what we're both taking from this is that he should have just continued making Snatchers and Boktai and Zone of the Enders.
Yes, he should have done another Zone. He should have done something else besides, yeah. No, I would have loved a Zone of the Enders 3.
Yeah. Now, to be fair, Bokutai ended in a really satisfying way. Shinbok was good, and Lunar Nights was also good.
Because, like, oh man, Zone of the Enders, I love Zone of the Enders. Zone of the Enders 1 and 2. 2 was even better.
I would politely disagree with you that Lunar Nights was a good ending to the series.
Okay, the story was kind of rough, but mechanically, the game was really good. The story is kind of dumb. But it's Kojima writing. Of course it's dumb.
Hey guys, all those vampires you've been fighting, those aren't the real immortals. The real immortals are aliens from space.
They kind of implied that in the first Bokutai game, to be fair. The Solar Tribe might also be aliens, so it's like it's Kojima writing, so of course it's stupid. But like, that therein lies the rub, is it not? Like, these people are. We talked about this like the very start of season 3, so everything has kind of come around on itself, which is ironic because so has the entertainment industry. Because we were talking about just before we started this episode, we're like, it's all the self-eating serpent of them just regurgitating the same ideas and then being surprised when it's not working. Because, they thought they had a hit moneymaker with the MCU, and for a time they did. Because even Miss Marvel, the Captain Marvel movie was not good. I'm just going to say it. It wasn't good. Now, people went and saw it because they had this really solid through line. Like, there's continuity. The stakes matter. Things get revealed. You understand the story. You're piecing it all together. And nothing like this has ever been done on this scale before. Really, really cool. And then Infinity War and Endgame happened. And they should have just stopped. Because everyone on board who had any talent whatsoever left for the great beyond. And they were left behind with a bunch of people who wanted to write political agitprop. And we had to suffer this slurry of mediocre to terrible films. I think the only Marvel movie I got any entertainment out of after Endgame was the last Spider-Man film where Tobey Maguire and James Garfield came back.
There were
Spider-Man member berries.
Yeah,
way home.
There were speckles of positives, like every now and then. Like they finally made a series for my favorite character, Moon Knight, and then I got so pissed off by the end of it. Parts of it were good. I did enjoy the lead, Oscar Isaac, I think his name is. The lead actor did pretty well with Moon Knight, and I liked that they showed him kind of like they were towing the line as they do between like, is he actually a superhero or is he just bonkers?
Okay.
And they did a really good job with that. Like one of my favorite scenes is like he dressed up. He's like in his Mr. Knight outfit and like fighting an invisible monster, and it was a cool scene. And like people are looking at him like he's crazy. Like you can see what he sees, but then other people see him, and he's just like looking like a complete doofus jumping around. And it was fun up until the last like 3 or 4 episodes. The second half of the series, I want to say, they started introducing. They changed a lot of his story. They changed his love interest. They completely created a brand new character from scratch that has never existed in the comics before, like the Scarlet Scarab or whatever, just so that they could have a female strong woman in the end of the series, and she started sucking up all the screen time. And I was like, Moon Knight's doing all the cool stuff. Like, nobody knows who this Scarlet Scarab character is. Why are you giving her so much screen time? Everybody, like, this is killing the show. Like, by the end of it, I was so mad. I was like, and they of course, they do a whole thing where Moon Knight doesn't actually get to be the hero in his own show. It's, this random, not to be, not trying to come off as like, oh, this was a sexist thing. It's just like, guys, this wasn't ever in the comics. This character has no basis on anything. This character never existed. You just made it up for the show just so you could do this.
Wait, what did you say her name was?
It was like Scarlet Scarab. Let me verify that I'm saying it right.
Those talentless hacks stole my Exalt character's name.
All right, so to be fair, okay, there was a Scarlet Scarab character that existed in the Invaders number 23 in 1977. It's a B character villain, right? And it was actually essentially it was just he was a throwaway villain.
He was a throwaway villain.
It was a male, and then they took this character name, created a whole new character, female character for the show that they shoved into Moon Knight to suck up all of the space for Moon Knight's like character, because he had some cool fight scenes. He was doing his Moon Knight thing for a little bit he does it for a bit in the beginning of the series, and then it basically shifts to this Scarlet Scarab is so cool. She's the new best female heroine. And it's like, what is this? Who is this person? Nobody knows who this is. What is happening right now? And yeah, it basically ruined it by the end of the show. And I was just like, oh, what? It was such, it had so much potential at the beginning, but it ultimately it just gets ruined. And I was like, but if you look at some of the comics, like Moon Knight was having some of his best runs at that time. Moon Knight was getting new powers. He was having some of the coolest stuff going on, where he got a new power. We could like entomb people in his mind, and it made his crazy like an actual power. And he was the only best-selling like Marvel comic character while everybody else was dropping off the cliff. And now it's like it's become just this big muddy water. But there was a brief period where Moon Knight was doing really, really well, and I was like, okay. You can also tell that it's probably a bad day when like Moon Knight has become a best-selling Marvel comic, and he's outselling Captain America and like like all these other characters. Now then it's like part of me was like, oh, this is like these specific stories are really, really good, but then you look at everything else and it is come crumbling to the ground. And
because like they're like, oh, here's Miss Marvel, and she's in high school with her big stretchy arms. Oh no, someone called her a big poopy head on Twitter. Oh no, I'm dying because somebody called me a poopy head on Twitter, and I'm also in a Spider-Man book. Oh no,
Yeah.
Miss Marvel, you're dying. Oh well. Anyways,
Yeah.
that's my new Peter Parker.
It's pretty
That's
appropriate.
that's my new Peter Parker
Yeah,
voice.
and the thing about that whole kerfuffle was the journals again. I remember when the death of Kamala Khan happened in a Spider-Man book, and the journal's like, "Oh my God, it was so beautiful, it was so powerful." It's like you don't care about this character. You care about the politics surrounding the character and the politics of the writer, which is the same reason you talentless hack shoved America Chavez into Doctor Strange of all places.
You want to
That's
know
that
why we
movie.
know?
That movie shouldn't even be called Doctor Strange. It was just like they wanted to make it the House of M, but not call it the like. I would have gone to see that movie with it focusing on Scarlet Witch if you had called it House of M. But no, you had to call it Doctor Strange, and then you had to kick Doctor Strange on his butt. The half the movie he spends falling on his butt, not being a hero, and all the America Chavez has to show up and be the hero. And again, it's a similar situation where it's just like the lead character isn't even a main character in his own movie.
I gotta say, the thing that really, I kind of want to watch this movie only for the fact that I heard this one bit off of an EFAP. Are you familiar with EFAP there, Cog? I know the professor is.
Not as much.
Every frame of pause. Yeah, it's a bunch of guys who do like 8-hour stream podcasts talking about like exactly like these sorts of things they do a lot of Marvel stuff especially. And they latched onto this one bit where they were like, okay guys, so here's the thing. We need to do a bit of exposition. So we have Doctor Strange in America go to the memory store. And I'm just like, really?
Yes.
Out of all the ways you could do exposition, they're like, guys, we got to go to the Rick and Morty memory store. Ooh, it's like, okay, that's it. We have officially hit rock bottom in terms of writing.
Yeah. And I mean, they're paying the price now though, because like the movie tickets. I mean, they're not selling like hotcakes anymore, and they're losing money hand over fist with most of the stuff they've been putting out. The only thing I'm somewhat interested in watching anymore is probably the new Deadpool movie, because I was reading about kind of its production and the fact that Ryan and um apparently Ryan Reynolds and not Ryan Reynolds. Is that
Yeah.
am I
Ryan
getting the
Reynolds.
right? I'm saying the right famous people.
You are.
Okay, and Hugh Jackman. Yeah, they apparently fought hard against the Disney machine and were like, "Don't ruin this movie for us," basically, with your agendas. And so, long story short is, I mean, I'm interested to see, because I think it's gonna be more of a linchpin in terms of wiping away everything and potentially changing the game for what they think they might do moving forward. But it actually kind of looks entertaining and fun. I mean, I've always enjoyed Deadpool as a character, and I've enjoyed the last two Deadpool movies.
I gotta disagree with you, Cog, if only for the fact that first off, I'm Deadpool is entertaining, but the entire he is really suffering from kind of the secondarification of nerd culture, which is partially why a lot of these the journalism issues in pop culture are the way they are. Is basically like there's like everything has to appeal to everyone now, and you do that by making it as memey and vapid as possible. And just the we're not talking about like 90s Deadpool where he would make quips and then kill people. but like, also random, oh my goodness, it's the yellow boxes and
they turned him into
chimichanga.
They turned him into the Pyro from Team Fortress 2, but without any hint of self-awareness.
Kind of, yeah.
Yeah, and so there's a lot of that in the Ryan Reynolds films. Plus, the entire thing, Ryan has this weird thing going on where he's like, "Hey guys, check out my butt. Check out my butt." It's like,
That's like a
do we have
Marvel
to?
thing, because they were doing that to Captain America before the series was out. And like, here's the thing: Ryan
They
Reynolds,
weren't they?
yeah,
I didn't even really focus that much on it to notice it, but yeah, I guess
it seemed like a throwaway gag where it's like, oh, okay, he's a good-looking guy, so like, okay.
Here's the thing though. The only reason why I'm is, well, first off, because they're part of the like tie-ins for this new film are they're trying to have an entire like Xbox collection that's basically the Deadpool sneaky Xbox.
Who buys Xbox anymore? I'm sorry, like Xbox is.
I don't know. Like it's literally just Deadpool's butt, but as a controller, and I'm like, okay. And that made me start thinking. I'm like, oh god, there is a lot of just like him, just like, hey boy, hey sailor, hey boys. It's like, okay, I mean,
that's just kind of Ryan Reynolds'
thing.
That's Ryan Reynolds' sense of humor, interest, of fairness.
Yeah, and I mean, I get that he did Van Wilder back in the day.
I'm not saying it's going to be amazing. I'm just saying like
it might not.
It's the first movie in a while that I'm like, this might not be absolutely terrible.
Yeah,
and I respect that. I just am saying I disagree, and I'm on, and I'll have that be my Titaku hot take. I really don't think Deadpool. Honestly, and another thing going alongside with that was like, honestly, I really, really, really wish that modern Marvel would like have stopped with Squirrel Girl. She is supposed to be a bit character. Her entire thing is that she can beat anyone.
Oh yes,
outside.
They destroyed Squirrel Girl long ago.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's like she was funny. She was not conventionally attractive, but they made her look like a Down syndrome sufferer. And she was never that. She was just kind of a short stack who had buck teeth.
Yeah, buck teeth and freckles.
But I mean, she was still, you could say she was cute, but they're like, nah, gosh, she's just, it's like, oh my goodness. It's not even like, it just looks grotesque now. The comics look grotesque.
Well, dude, that's part of the design. That's what's happening. There is this big push, and we're 40 minutes in, so I feel pretty safe making this declaration, where you're seeing this weird shift where it's not okay to be attracted to pretty women, because the internet will hunt you down for that. Instead, you have to obey this weird backwards inverse thinking where it's like, oh, it's okay if you like look lustfully at a man, especially if he's a sharp-looking fellow. But then it's like, oh no, if you have to like ugly women, and we're just gonna uglify all these actresses because they're actually pretty in real life, but we're gonna make them ugly secondhand. Like again, Horizon Zero Dawn, Last of Us, they all do it. And it's this horrible trend where beauty is ugly and ugly is beauty. This is just 1984, but in a really stupid Demolition Man kind of way.
That might be the reason why I brought this up earlier as part of kind of the Yasuke discussion. We had a discussion about Yasuke prior to the podcast. And I brought up, basically there is kind of this weird push to try and present an agenda, a message, as Cog kind of pointed out before. And part of that, honestly, is kind of the girl boss character, which is partly, I think, why modern MCU basically fell flat on his face. Because they just keep, as you said with the Scarlet Scarab, just they've been really pushing, like, just pushing old heroes aside for strong, independent, heroines.
Oh god, don't
And
even get me started on the She-Hulk miniseries, which is one of the worst
but
freaking things ever put to
any
film.
that being said, honestly, out of those, I'm really surprised that no one has ever touched on Inanna, the goddess of love and war from Mesopotamia, because she literally is that. If you look at her stories, she basically just glides through this cosmology, just destroying bad guys, destroying demons, destroying monsters, and humbling other gods. And I mean, she does get her butt kicked, but ultimately she gets her the last laugh in pretty much every, situation ultimately. And she's beautiful, and everyone, I wouldn't say likes her, but tolerates her because, she's strong and pretty, and, she's very free-spirited, and nothing. And honestly, the only thing I'm hearing, because I'm weird and I look into these things, is this weird just tendency of saying that she's trans because she speaks in a very masculine, rough way, which I don't think is true, honestly, because, I mean, there's really nothing to that apart from the fact that she's a warrior. And, I mean, if you're saying that, then, I mean, you also have to say that Thor is, trans when he actually almost got married to a giant king, except then he actually, well, he nailed the guy. He destroyed him by hitting him with Mjolnir.
He pulled the
So,
dark helmet, fooled you, and just started smacking.
Yeah.
it's actually really funny because the dude had Odin under a spell, and he's like, the only way I'm going to release you from the spell is if you give me a very beautiful woman. If you give me Freya. And they're like, well, we don't want to give him Freya, so what do? I know, we'll trick him. We'll send a brave warrior disguised as Freya, and then when he's got his guard down, we'll kill him. And so, yeah, it basically was Thor pretending to be, this beautiful goddess. And when they're about to get married, he's like, ha, gotcha, bam.
Never mind the weird shenanigans his brother got up to, but like this, that kind of ties into what I was talking about. Like, beauty is ugly, ugly is beauty. They're I don't know. Well, I have hunches as to who it could be at the top of the chain, but these journalists in particular keep pushing this message where, oh, you can't just like what you like. That's too easy. You have to like what we say that you're supposed to like. Well, Mr. Journo, do you like that? No, of course I don't like that. That's ugly, but you have to like it, little stupid idiot. Like, this is why we hate you. This is why you're the enemy of the average nerd culture enjoying person. Like, if you ever don't do this, by the way, but look up any kind of recent journalism editorial on Warhammer, and it will just be this verbal diarrhea of nonsense backbiting and going, you can't prove my stupid idea wasn't part of the broader canon from the origin, even though you totally can.
I mean, never mind the fact that Warhammer is just intrinsically hyper masculine due to the fact that it's based on old science fiction. And what is old science fiction other than a bunch of old men going, you know what's cool? Spaceships, explosions, aliens,
Well,
broad,
depends on which.
hard-thinking ideology.
Yeah, but from its inception, it was
Because there's also
definitely
like acid trips and orgies.
yeah, but I mean,
70s, man.
yeah, but like at the same time, it was pretty clear where they were going with that because the acid trips and orgies were usually as a representation of chaos, and even though it like they kind of like, well, technically law is not good and chaos is not evil, but chaos is definitely evil. Let's be real.
Okay, let's put it this way there, Cog. One of the earliest Chaos Lords that Elric encounters in the Elric of Melniboné series is this being called Zombarg, the Queen of Swords. Zombarg is always depicted as an incredibly beautiful woman riding increasingly bizarre chimeric creatures, always hefting a gigantic sword and speaking in a very effete, very courtly manner. And yet all of their demon lore, all their demon retainers refer to Zombarg as a he. Elric refers to Zombarg as a he. Even later, when in the Corum series, and Zombarg is the actual Queen of Swords of the trio of Chaos Gods. And so, then when you have Slanesh, the Prince of Ecstasy, who is always shown as being very feminine, and yet is the she who thirsts, and yet is also masculine. Basically, it's Slanesh. They Zombarg is Slanesh. They took just once again. It was them just going, "Oi, chaps, let's just plagiarize this thing." And I mean, they basically did, guys.
Let's
I
just
hate
steal
to
this
tell
and
you,
file the serial numbers off.
I like Elric, I like Warhammer, but it's very clear that they've just been stealing things. And
Yeah.
so yeah, I mean, and yeah, basically the way that Slanesh is presented is basically the adherence of Zombarg in terms of just the gender bending, the crazy amounts of drugs.
No, the broader point, plagiarism aside, is like the discourse around it follows that same trend where it's like, you can't like what you like. You have to like what we tell you you have to like. And this is exactly the same thing that's going to turn people off. This is not going to bring new fans into the thrall, no matter how much you idiots click your heels and tell them that that will be the case. It never works like that. The Marvel movies dropped off considerably because everyone with talent left, and everyone that remained was pushing an agenda. People are going to leave Warhammer because you are now pushing an agenda, and they just want their fun, silly game that they know at heart is stupid. They know it's stupid.
Well, I mean, it is. I'm also laughing because I'm thinking to myself, I'm like, these silver slippers in the Oz books don't work that way, Snek. Of course you know that, you buffoon.
You know,
Uh,
Yellow Brick Road was a metaphor for the gold standard, and Roald Dahl hated small children, but that's not the point.
and L. Frank Baum was the one who did Oz. I mean, come on.
I told you I'm working on the very limited amount of sleep. I got my child hating authors mixed up, but yeah, they both hated children like a lot.
I think L. Frank Baum hated everyone at the end because he was.
Yeah, dude was a little unhappy. Let's just say. But like, this is not going to build you a fandom. This will destroy whatever foundation you might have had. This is specifically the kind of thing that will not happen in franchises that are concerned with continuing to be successful. You will not see Sonic the Hedgehog run up to the screens and be like, "Hey kids, Dr. Eggman sure is a bad guy, but at least he's not that one politician I hate." Because they know for a fact that that is going to destroy a fandom that, I mean, the Sonic the Hedgehog fandom is rarely united on a good day, but it will destroy the base that holds them together.
Gee, Sonic, which politician is that? All of them.
That's,
All of them.
I mean, that would actually be kind of based, honestly, but
I mean, never say never at the same time, because at the end of the day,
yeah,
with just major media properties like that, money talks. So every corporation has a price. So
and that's true. That's why you see things like Sweet Baby Inc. showing up, and they're like, "We need to push the message whether they want it or not." And there was some, I forget what it's called. It was some Souls-like game based on Sun Wukong, and they were just like, "Yeah, stuff it. We're not listening to you." And like there was this whole thing, like these game journals are once again like, "Oh my god, it's so awful that these awful game devs aren't paying Sweet Baby Inc. $17 million in order for them to tell them how to make their game suck more." It's like no one should be doing that. That's why like I've kind of given up on Alan Wake, because like you sold out. You gave up on it, and I'm not gonna support that kind of behavior.
You know, you were talking about like, oh, hey guys, Sonic the Hedgehog here. And, as soon as you were talking about Dr. Eggman isn't so bad, not as bad as current politician. And here I was thinking, I just heard in my head Mike Pollock going, yes, Dr. Eggman here. And now I'm running for president. And I'm like, I could see them in Sonic Boom doing that.
I'm running for mayor. That might actually be pretty fun, actually.
That would actually be pretty funny.
I'm sorry, but I don't know if he can compete with the incumbent, Knuckles.
Mayor Knuckles, yes.
Mayor
Yes,
Knuckles.
I mean,
Sonic Boom is really good. We need to do an episode on that sometime soon.
Yeah, oh man, the writing for that show is just phenomenal.
Yeah, we're an hour
It's so
into this, and we've been complaining a lot. Let's end off on a high note, because, man, Sonic Boom is really good. And you know what's not good? IDW Comics. Stop supporting them. They're idiots. They don't know what they're doing. Stop trying to tell me that the Ninja Turtles will be good again, or that I should read the first 100 issues, because those weren't good either. Stop supporting bad media. You vote with your wallet.
I'm legitimately shocked that they're trying to do the entire Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles is going to collab with Naruto. It's like,
Ever since Viacom got the license, the Turtles have become the Village Bicycle, and any license that IDW acquires meets the same fate, where it's like, we're going to have the Turtles meet the kids from Stranger Things. And I'm like, that doesn't work. That's stupid. That's stupid.
I really want to see Cog's blind reaction to the Naruto one, just only because it basically is going to be him just shaking his head and just being like, this should have been I hate Naruto. TMNT X I'm the Lord, I hate Naruto.
Master, I hate Naruto. he will show them the way. Master, I hate Naruto has seen some stuff, so he knows what's up.
We need to play Shinobi Strikers again.
We do. And get Clockwork so we can have our 4 ninja squad again. We'll try to be more optimistic next time. But yeah, you don't hate journos as much as you should. And even if you hate them with every fiber of your being, there's always that little bit more you can give. They deserve it.
Hate them with all your hate.
they deserve everything you can muster. These people hate you.
Your anger.
And all of your sorrow.
Yeah. They deserve all of it. It's like the memes about the inverse proportions on Rotten Tomatoes. Where it's like, critics love it, fans hate it. It's definitely garbage. But if the critics hate it and the fans love it, then it's probably actually worth watching.
Oh, here I was expecting, if they, that you have just Snek doing a shining finger right there.
I don't have hands.
Shining mitt.
Shining fangs.
Shining tail. Shining glasses.
No, you have mitten. You have a mitten, don't you?
I could wear mittens.
Yeah, you have a mitten. You
kindly do not ask me how I do that. It's a personal question.
It's Snecko. Snecko has hands.
Snecko is holding it for me, and she's just putting it right next to my body, so it looks like it's mine.
There you go.
That's how we do. She holds me in one hand, and she puts out the mitten in the other, so it looks like I'm holding out my hand.
There you go. We cracked the code.
I'm now imagining a mobile fighter for a Snek, but it has to still use the mobile trace system, so it's just like this platform with this little danger noodle sitting on it. Not forget it. We'll get a female Gundam fighter and make the Lamia Gundam. That's my headcanon.
Oh, jeez.
So, thank you guys for joining us, and thank you, Master Cog, for returning from the shadows.
Yes, sir.
And Master Ditaku, as always a pleasure to have you and your insights.
If you like what you see, be sure to like, comment, and subscribe.
Yes, that, but
also,
unironically.
Tell me how much you hate me, because I said something meanie poo-poo about all the things you like. Yes, you. Specifically you.
Talking about you, Steve.
Yeah.
I don't actually know a Steve, but there's gonna be a Steve in the audience someday, and he's gonna be really freaked out that I called him out. And he's gonna be like, "Dude, I didn't even do anything. What the heck?"
Ooh, Tutaku hates me. Me, Steve.
Oh,
No, I
That's-
don't actually hate you. But
are
I'm
you a
disappointed.
journo, Steve? Because if you're a journo, we
Then
do
he
hate
might.
you. Then we might. If you're not a journo, we probably don't. Then you're probably fine. You're probably all right. You know. Like to tell you a quick true story to end the episode on. When I did Monster Rancher Advance 2 on the channel, I named the hare I started with David because it's a fairy hare. So I was like, oh, David the gnome. Gnomes are kind of like fairies. So I named him David. And one of my regular commenters is like, that's my actual name. So every time you said it, I jumped. And I was like, I'm trying my best. We have fun here. All right. And thank you at home for joining us for another episode of the Tomodachi Bros podcast. Please unironically like, comment, subscribe, and all that other good stuff. Share this with your friend and your friend's dog, your friend's dog's friends. That helps us out a lot. Word of mouth is our most powerful tool, and we will see you guys in the next one.
Except for you, Steve.
Not you, Steve.
You're not invited.